Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to get her final revenge on Donald Trump. She is not relenting even after getting 50 million views for a speech she gave in Texas where she absolutely eviscerated and exposed Donald Trump, by the way, that we showed here and covered on the MeidasTouch network. She's not stopping. She's going to do this every damn day and every hour of every damn day. Let me show you what just went down. She posted the following. 70% of farmers say they can't afford to buy all the fertilizer they need for this growing season due to the war in Iran. 2/3 of the United States is in a drought. The cost of food is already high, and the rising cost of gas makes it even tougher on Americans and our farmers. Food security is national security. America first means focusing on our food security and basic cost of living for Americans. War in Iran is pointless and honestly just stupid. Then in response to Donald Trump announcing that he was going to be releasing unidentified anomalous phenomena, formerly classified information. And Trump's like, we're going to give you some information about potential UFOs. Go take a look at some of these images. You may find them interesting. We'll release the UFO files. To which Marjorie Taylor Greene responds, releasing only a few files on fallen angels or demons. Now can you guys tell the truth about the girls' school that you bombed in Iran and stop spending our money fighting another stupid war on behalf of Israel? Well, Donald Trump was asked about the war crimes against the little girls in Manab, Iran, where the Trump regime killed over 160 little girls using Tomahawk missiles and then tried to cover it all up. Here's what Trump said about that. Let's play it.
Almost 10 weeks after a missile hit a girls' school in Iran. Who fired that missile?
So that's under study right now, and we'll give you a report as soon as we have it.
And then Marjorie Taylor Greene said something that I've been asking here every damn day on the MeidasTouch network. And you know, from watching it, where are the two pilots that crashed and were rescued in Iran? Are they okay? Why don't we know anything about them? Remember, as soon as that incident took place where the Trump regime said that there were two Air Force pilots who miraculously ejected and they were in Iran, and then we apparently had 100 special forces operations, or hundreds. They landed in these C-130 planes, and then the planes got stuck in the dirt, so they had to be blown up, but the hundreds of special forces were managed to escape, and then these two pilots, they were heroically saved, and they're doing great. Where are they? Who are they? Who are these people? Don't you think if this story was real, and it's possible, and I'm not trying to go down necessarily a path of seeming conspiratorial. I don't think this is, though. Don't you think we would know their identities? We would see them. They would give interviews. At the very least, we would know their names. And as I said at the time, when all of corporate news was spewing Donald Trump's line, what a heroic rescue, I said, this story makes no sense. I said, I'm trying to understand this. The rescue allegedly happened right next to Iran's Isfahan nuclear facility. The Trump regime was saying previously that they were going to send special forces in C-130s to try to capture the nuclear dust from the Isfahan facility. The pilots ejected seemingly miles and miles and miles away from the Isfahan facility. Now, I did an analysis where I wanted to see just how far can you glide in a parachute? Because I figure, okay, you eject in one location, you can basically drift to another location. So that may account for some of the miles, but it was nowhere near Isfahan. I checked. when you parachute, you don't go all that far. And so I said, and why did we establish a temporary Air Force base in Iran? I said, what probably happened here was a failed and aborted mission that the Trump regime was talking about before, where they were going to go and invade the Isfahan nuclear facility, and Iran figured it out. And then we managed to have our soldiers escape. And they were lucky enough to get out, I think. And then they utilized, either there was actually 2 pilots who were shot down, and then that was utilized as the pretext for the invasion of the Isfahan facility, which failed, or the entire story was just a cover by the CIA for a invasion of Isfahan's nuclear facility, and then that failed. But do we all agree right now that everything out of this Trump regime is a complete and utter lie, and that we would at the very least know who these pilots were who allegedly were rescued in Iran, and they were out there and there was this big successful rescue mission? I call BS on all of that right now. And apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying it also. Marjorie Taylor Greene then posts the following: the most transparent administration in history still hasn't released all the Epstein files or arrested anyone, but rolled out some UFO files today. So you would get so excited that you forgot that you're paying $4.50 a gallon because they are fighting another foreign war they said they would no longer fight. Happy Friday, everyone. She goes on to say, I really don't care about UFO files. I just don't. I'm so sick of the look at the shiny object propaganda while they wage foreign wars, let rapists and pedophiles run free, and ruin the value of our dollar. Unless they roll out live aliens and test demo UFOs or actually admit what we know this really is, then I have way better things to do on this Friday. Now, I do want to share with you, though, how Democrats and how others are reacting to this. The first clip I want to show you is AOC speaking in Chicago, and she was asked about Marjorie Taylor Greene's shift. Marjorie Taylor Greene now becoming anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, and, leading a movement against Donald Trump. So what does AOC have to say about it? Here, let's play this clip.
I care about results. I care about results. Now, there are certain certain areas where I don't think that we should ignore some folks' record on some of these issues, right? It's about where we trust intent, where we trust where those outcomes are going. I personally do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti-Semite, on the issues of what is good for Gazans and Israelis. I don't think that it benefits our movement in that instance to align the left with white nationalists. I don't think it serves us. And so I think it's about looking at the context, the place, the results, the outcomes, intentions, and where we think that train would go. But as far as what someone says about me, I could care less. And, I think it's really about what our outcomes are. And to be honest, there are some areas where things will not get done if they're partisan because they are anti-establishment. There is bipartisan consensus on keeping and protecting stock trading in Congress. And so it's going to require massive bipartisan consensus of people willing to come together across those differences to get it done.
Now that's what AOC's perspective is. What about Jon Ossoff, Democratic senator from Georgia running for re-election? What does he say about it? Play this clip.
Listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene just said about MAGA last week. I'm serious. Marjorie said, quote, I think people are realizing it was all a lie. Hold on, it gets better. Marjorie said, what MAGA is really serving in this administration, who they're really serving is their big donors. Guys, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene talking. She went on. Marjorie said, quote, The big donors that donated all the money and continue to donate to the president's PACs and are donating to the big ballroom, those are the people who get the special favors. They get the government contracts. They get the pardons. All true. Spot on. Marjorie, welcome to the resistance. It's a big tent.
What about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar? What does she have to say about it? Here, play this clip.
Have you like called Marjorie, or you guys talked at all? I mean, I know she's not in Congress anymore, so you probably wouldn't run into her, but like, I don't know, it seems powerful, and it's a good message, I think, to a lot of people out there who are tempted to scold former MAGA folks and say, I told you, we were right, you were wrong, right? As opposed to kind of like building a bigger tent.
Yeah, I did see Ro Khanna give her a big shout out the other day. I haven't called her, but I did before she left. I found her on the House floor and thanked her for her support in ending the genocide, her willingness to speak up about what the people in Gaza have experienced and what our tax dollars have allowed to take place as we all worked really hard to say that we have a responsibility to end this genocide and to end our financial and political support for Israel and the impunity that we have constantly provided for them as they have tried to destroy a group of people.
Now, I do want to share this other clip of AOC speaking at the University of Chicago, in addition to what I just shared with you about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because to me, someone like AOC has always been authentic and intellectually consistent. And it's fascinating to me that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others would always attack AOC. They're obsessed with attacking AOC. But ultimately, AOC's been on the front lines when it comes to affordability, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to championing the working class, when it comes to fighting for equality, when it comes to just being decent, human beings. And I think, obviously, I think it's an interesting plot, an interesting story about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the MAGA general, getting revenge on Donald Trump, getting revenge, exposing the MAGA movement, exposing how they cover up child sex trafficking rings, exposing their corruption and getting America into catastrophic and unlawful wars, exposing their war crimes from within. She was a top general. But in doing that, I don't want to lose sight on the true allies out there who have always been on the right side of history and who haven't just wavered back and forth, who have been steady champions, working class, truly what it means to fight for Americans. Here's what AOC said. Here, play this clip.
Oh, yeah.
But last thing before we go to the students, because I would be drawn and quartered if I did not say this. There are a lot of people who would like you to run for president in 2028. Apparently, some of them are here. And there are people who, there are others who would like you to run for the United States Senate. Senator Schumer's up in 2028. I don't know. It sounded like even more.
Should we do it to New York or to other parts of the country?
How many would like AOC to stay in Congress? See, they want you to make a move.
Yeah.
What say you about all of this?
It's funny because in this op-ed that Jeff Bezos paid for in the Washington Post, there was this line that you had mentioned earlier about, well, as a potential 2028 contender, XYZ. And in the context of that, it was very clear this was a veiled threat, right? So the elite saying, if you want this job, you just stepped out of line. And we want you to know where the real power is. And it's in the modern day barons who own the post and own the algorithms, and we'll make an example out of you. And what's funny about that is that they assume that my ambition is positional. They assume that my ambition is a title or a seat. And my ambition is way bigger than that. My ambition is to change this country. And presidents come and go, Senate, House seats, elected officials come and go, but single-payer health care is forever. A living wage is forever. Workers' rights are forever. Women's rights, all of that. And so, anyways, a finer point to your question is that when you aren't attached, right? When you haven't been like fantasizing about being this or that since the time you were 7 years old, it is tremendously liberating, because I get to wake up every day and say, how am I going to meet the moment? And conditions change radically all the time. So I make my response less to an attachment to some positional, title or position, and working backwards from there. But I make decisions by waking up in the morning, looking out the window, and observing the conditions of this country, and saying, what move or what decision can I make today that is going to get us closer to that future, stronger, faster, better than yesterday?
Now, you have that, and I'll just remind you of two quick things with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here's what she told Tucker, because Marjorie and Tucker are both anti-Trump now. Play this clip.
I don't want Democrats to win because I don't support their policies either, but why am I afraid of Republicans losing? I'm not. I resigned from Congress because I refuse to be a part of, and I refuse to support a party that lied to the American people and is completely selling them out.
And here's the clip from the MeidasTouch coverage of Marjorie Taylor Greene's speech at Ron Paul's clinic in Texas. This one's the one that went mega viral, that got over 50 million views. Here, play this clip.
I sent them to all these people. I got no response from Susie Wiles. None. And she's a mother and a grandmother and a woman. I got no response from James Blair because he only cares about making money on campaigns. I did hear from Kash Patel. He said on it, but I haven't heard from him since. I don't know what he's on. J.D. Vance was very nice to me, compassionate and kind, and reassured me that he would do everything we could to find out what's going on. And then I heard back from Donald Trump. And I've saved these text messages. I'd probably get put in jail if I released them publicly, but I saved them. Where Donald Trump proceeded to tell me that it was my fault and that I deserve it. If my son gets killed, I deserve it because I was a traitor to him. That is our president of the United States. That's the man that says MAGA is whatever he wants it to be.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody. New Meidas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.